It's rare that I play a game and become cautious of the amount I write about it, yet the Endview does this for two separate reasons. The first, at around half an hour for a playthrough, is that the footage of gameplay I can actually show you is strikingly short, and subsequent playthroughs were spent more or less going over the same section and trying out new dialogue. The second is that the Endview is easy to spoil by talking about it too much. However, it's also an experience in the purest sense, a combination of atmosphere, sound, and story that doesn't connect the same if you aren't exploring it yourself. That is to say, there's not a big bad or a grandiose final triumph. It's simply an exploration of one man's guilt over a single insomnia-driven night, and this simplicity is kind of brilliant. I played a little bit of The Stillness of the Wind, this developer's previous effort, a while back, and found the aesthetics striking. I don't, however, have a bigger connection to it. The music is effective and emotive, and the gameplay looks like it can build to something great. I didn't play it enough for it to fully start pulling at my heartstrings, but I know the capability is in there. It just requires me booting it up again. If you happen to have played The Stillness of the Wind at its launch in 2018 and wondered what has this dev been up to since, the answer in a professional sense is little you can see publicly. Memory of God, the pseudonym for one-man development studio Lambic, was diagnosed with ADHD late in life, battled his own darkness around his past, and broke things off with his long-term partner at that time. The Endview is the result of that heartbreak and eventual catharsis. Taking a very old-school retro approach to its graphics, the Endview is intentionally nostalgic, and this gives it all a jarring effect that made me think I was only ever a misclick away from outright horror. That moment never came, and it's all the better for it. The horror lies in between the lines, and if you're anything like me, it might just stay with you afterwards. Mechanically, it's a very simple game, with all the characters' actions being done with just a handful of clicks. You wake up in some early morning and wander around your lonely apartment, then decide to waste the time away by packing away a box belonging to your ex. Through a handful of central artifacts, you are given conversations, dialogue, and more of our main character's perceived failings. It feels less intentionally designed to be a game and feels a lot more like a short video or art project, closer to a poem than a novel. There are dozens of games that fit this description. Tons that try to say something deeper or want you to connect without level up systems and battle passes. Perhaps the thing I like most about Endview and why it feels distinct to me is how clear, consistent, and overwhelming its central themes are. Much of the music in the game, specifically that which you choose to play, is by Alessandro Moreschi, who was a castrato, singers whose castration preserved their vocal range that puberty would have otherwise dropped. Given recordings of this took place in the early 1900s and he was born in 1858, this is considered well past his prime, and some say his vocal range and tone is not that of a castrato. This is to say that, despite the pain endured by Alessandro, the main thing he's known for is his castration. From the fertility statue in the central room, to Fight Club, to Kill a Mockingbird and The Old Man in the Sea on the half-emptied bookshelf, there's a central core around masculinity and the perception of self that a long-awaited breakup will often bring out of you. What happens when your life reflects not the grandiose messaging of patriotism, chivalry, and frankly chauvinism of some classic novels, but the themes underlying them? What happens if we look not at the man stealing away a bride, but at the bus ride once they've realised what their actions actually mean? Why is it that so much prophetic media takes time for the broader world to fully grasp? Because, at least partially, you often need to experience what it says to get why it's saying that in the first place. With that, I'll say if you find this intriguing at all, just play the game. I'm going to talk a little deeper about myself, the game and my connection to it going forward, veering into mild spoilers and definitely a lot of pontificating. If this isn't your kind of thing, or you just want to see what I'm talking about before pointing out why I'm wrong, I'd encourage you to pause the video right here. As of the end of this year, I will have been with my partner for 7 years, and relationships get complicated in ways that you can't really explain to others. I've been very lucky in my relationship, broadly speaking, with practically all issues coming down to miscommunication or misunderstanding. However, putting yourself out there to solve misunderstandings requires courage, it requires honesty, it requires saying when something isn't right. It's one of those things where you're left infinitely more capable of understanding once you experience it yourself. Memory of God has experienced that in the Endview, and I think I can understand. However, the Endview is also punctuated and underlined with trauma. Neither party is made out to be bad, but both are made out to make choices that they regret, choices that literally keep them up at night. There's a run button in the game that you can access by holding down Shift. For some reason, this took until my second playthrough of the game to find out. In a Call of Duty, it's one of the first buttons I press, partially because I'm somewhat desensitized to what the game wants to throw at me. I know movement is often a tray transporting the food that is shooting bad guys to my table, not the entertainment that comes with the meal. I wanted to walk in Endview's world, in a very morbidly curious way. Weirdly, the game's choice to give you dialogue options to talk to your digital ex might feel tonally strange in another similar experience, but here, it works, because the Endview is also partially about narrativizing your own life. Our main character being obsessed with masculinity and castration to the point of making the game in the first place is not only deeply self-aware and self-critical of their last few years, but a deeper understanding of the sickly joy that can come from fetishizing your own depression, sadness, and angst. Waking up at 3 AM and reading Catcher in the Rye over a balcony with a cigarette, it's all very melodramatic, but also normal. Even picking the renegade line, so to speak, is often met with the same basic response. Nothing you do, nothing you ruminate on will change the decisions you've already made, and the Endview jeers at you as it points that out. Our lead isn't made out to be a good person, or a bad person really, but they are ultimately a person. I got my partner to play through this after me and watched their decisions. I took note of the items she interacted with, what she chose to test, and most importantly, what dialogue choices she chose. Curiously, they managed to pick almost the exact same ones as myself, whilst also spending 10 minutes throwing pans around in the kitchen to hit a made-up target. But when they were done, they just sat there a bit, not quite shaken, but more willing to just soak in the atmosphere. After you've beaten the game, it actually force quits you back to the whatever home screen your computer uses, and this almost feels like part of the experience. You are now alone, without even Mareshi's vocals to guide you along. I've never been through what our developer has here. My partner is my first long-term partner I've ever had, and I don't plan on that stopping anytime soon. When the game closed, I felt more afraid of losing it than I have in some time, but also more appreciative of what I have now. You can never really appreciate the good old days when you're in them, but this game brought me much closer to that than I thought I ever would. This is not the first time this developer's games have connected with people. Rewatching the Stillness of the Wind trailer from 2019, one of the top comments says, "I am your typical guy gamer who likes shooters and RPGs, and I am really enjoying this game. It's got an emotional core that most games lack." No different to many comments one might leave, but what makes this interesting is that comment was only left 2 years ago. This person somehow played this game maybe through itch.io's bundle for racial equality or because a friend bought it for them, and they liked it so much they sought out a trailer that launched years prior. Then, side account bunch of numbers calls them a shill. This could indeed be a fake shill set up by big fellow traveller to boost engagement on a 3-year-old trailer at the time, though a look at their channel suggests it's all natural. This duality perfectly enunciates what I like about the Endview. I suspect people will come to me and tell me it sucks, that it's pretentious or not even a game, but I also suspect someone might say it affected them or that it made them reflect on their own relationships. It's earnest to a point where it almost aches. I feel downright voyeuristic playing it, like listening to a couple a floor above me arguing about all they could have been in life. I certainly wouldn't fault someone for feeling either way about the game, and this is perhaps what I like most. It doesn't do anything egregious or mean-spirited, it just sits there and you judge. When researching The Stillness of the Wind, the previous game, I found an excerpt from an interview on itch.io that made me feel a little hollow. In it, the interviewer points out that the game takes a quote-unquote really intimate look at rural life, and the developer mentions that he and his partner would fantasize about leaving London to live out in the country and raise goats. The dingy, urban environment I played suggests that didn't quite work out as intended, and this feeling is quite strange. I've walked away from the game knowing insecurities and drives about this developer that I can barely get out of my own friends sometimes, and yet it's done so naturally and intuitively. The Endview is about 1, 2, maybe 3 things total, and is about them so single-mindedly that you get to watch everything else crumble apart around it. It is wonderful catharsis, and now I want to know what's next. Sorry for my voice in this one. Hay fever is killing me, and I think I might be getting sick as well. This is my second time recording the outro, because the first time, like, some big buzz went off at the start, and I'm so out of it I didn't even realize until getting all the way through it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, then you might like the game, and I advise checking it out. Also subscribe if you... sorry, I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers this year. Wow, I don't know what is going on in my brain right now. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers this year, which I think I might get to, because we're at 461 as of time of recording, maybe 60. I'm honored that people seem to be clicking on stuff and liking stuff. I want to do much more of this kind of coverage where I play something relatively unknown or obscure and I just say why it affects me, why I care about it, or why I don't care about it. I have so many little projects in the works. There's a big video I've been working on since before my birthday, which was a couple of weeks ago. I think it was actually maybe 2 months when I started working on it. That's like 3,000 words long and basically just sentence fragments. So I don't know how long that's going to be. This was a shorter one. I think it needs to be. Thank you for watching, and thank you, my partner Abby, for everything, I guess. There's not really a single, you subscribed as well, so that's nice. But there's not really a single thing to thank you for. Just appreciate you, and I look forward to you. I was going to say look forward to you watching this, but I think it's more close to I look forward to bullying you into watching this for me before I upload it, and probably making my thumbnail. Yeah, thank you for watching. If you like the thumbnail, let Abby know it's really good. I just realised that clicking the spacebar didn't stop the recording, so you just hear the thunk there of me trying to stop the recording.